On this edition of Newswatch, hear about car break-ins at the Ames Racket Club.
And hear about how Iowa State students have been given new research grants.
Thanks for watching and have a good rest of your night and week. Stay classy, Cyclones.
Welcome to this edition of Newswatch.
I'm Natasha Novak. Thanks for joining us.
Construction on campus is nothing new to an ISU student, and we can expect to see it continue with the West Campus development project set to take place over the next 3 years. These projects include the construction of a Student Innovation Center and related demolition of the Nuclear Engineering Lab and the oldest sections of Sweeney Hall, the expansion of underground chilled water utility service along Bissell Road, the replacement of Bissell Road, and the reconstruction of Union Drive and Welch Road. Tomorrow there will be a meeting taking place in 308 Ellings Hall from 4:10 to 5:30. There will be staff from Facilities Planning and Management there to present early project plans and answer questions. Everyone is invited to attend. Iowa State University is involved in a new research effort against diseases spread by bites from infected insects. The Upper Midwestern Center of Excellence in Vector-Borne Diseases, which is funded by a $10 million grant from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, has involved personnel at 3 other universities and the Minnesota Department of Health in the task of researching and predicting disease outbreak. Ryan Smith, an assistant professor of entomology and head of the ISU Medical Entomology Laboratory, is the primary correspondent for ISU's contribution to the center, and his research will focus on enhanced surveillance of West Nile virus transmission and the presence of invasive Aedes mosquito species in Iowa. Other goals for the center include developing new natural repellents and insecticides and better diagnostic tools to detect antibodies associated with the Lyme disease pathogen in wildlife populations.
Back in July of 2014, an Iowa State club named ISU Normal sued the university claiming their First Amendment rights of a student organization had been violated. The university used viewpoint discrimination by creating a trademark policy that would prevent the student organization from printing a t-shirt that had images of Psy and a marijuana leaf. The student organization was informed Monday that they had won their lawsuit against the university. ISU spokesman John McCarroll said they will review the court order and decide whether they will form an appeal.
STEM students at Iowa State have something to look forward to. The Association of American Universities has selected Iowa State as one of 12 recipients of a $20,000 grant to make improvements in the undergraduate programs involving science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. This grant will affect many ISU students since over half of our undergraduates are enrolled in STEM-related majors. Joanne Powell-Kaufman, professor and chair of the Department of Genetics, Development, and Cell Biology, is the ISU project coordinator for the grant, and she says that the money will go towards cross-disciplinary teams, create new networks, and accelerate educational change.
Earlier this month, Iowa State lawmakers signed off on more than $100 million budget cuts from the state. Iowa State University is ordered to cut $8 million from their budget to fulfill their share. ISU is planning on postponing on-campus projects, reducing spending on computers, and leaving 45 to 50 currently unfulfilled positions vacant.
National Security Advisor Michael T. Flynn resigned last night following the turmoil surrounding his dishonesty in regards to conversations he had with the Russian ambassador to the United States. According to White House Press Secretary Sean Spencer, President Trump's team has been searching for the truth regarding the phone calls for weeks, and eventually they deducted that although he did not violate the law, he was no longer fit to serve in his position. Conversations in the phone call appear to include reassurance to the ambassador that Mr. Trump would better the relationship between Russia and America once he was in office. Mr. Flynn also gave Vice President Pence false information that he then used in multiple television appearances. Army Lieutenant General Joseph K. Kellogg, Jr., who served in the Vietnam War, took over as acting National Security Advisor following Mr. Flynn's resignation.
Coming up after the break, Japanese Prime Minister Abe visited the United States.
and hear about an update in a missing child case. Stay tuned. You're watching Newswatch. Welcome back to Newswatch. According to Associated Press News, the killer of Etan Patz may finally be behind bars. It has been over 40 years since the 6-year-old has disappeared and became one of the first missing children on a milk carton. The killer, Pedro Hernandez, has claimed to suffer from a mental illness, not being able to tell the difference between what is real and what is imaginary, although the jury does believe that he could tell right from wrong, as well as fiction from nonfiction.
According to the New York Times, Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe visited the United States this past Friday to meet with President Trump. In the meeting, President Trump and Prime Minister Abe meet to discuss reaffirming the alliance between the United States and Japan. During a White House briefing, Trump described the relationship with Japan as the cornerstone of peace and stability in the Pacific region, vowing to tie the relationship even closer. Prime Minister Abe and President Trump exchanged several handshakes during their visit, some lasting as long as 20 seconds. As President Trump commented, they were very strong hands, referring to the golf outing they had during the weekend. Trump promised to let the American people know if their relations with Japan change in the near future, but he said, "I don't think it will."
According to the New York Times, Russia has recently deployed a new cruise missile that violates a 1987 treaty between the United States and Russia. The missile, which was tested in 2014 against U.S. wishes, violates the Intermediate Range Nuclear Forces Treaty. This treaty originally helped end the Cold War. Many intelligence officials expressed concern over this violation, including John Wolfthal, the nuclear weapons expert on Obama's National Security Council. There have been no official responses from the Trump administration yet.
We are now joined by Jane at the desk. Jane, it's pretty warm for February, wouldn't you think?
Yeah, it's very warm actually, and just getting warmer as we go through the rest of the week.
Stay tuned for your local weather after the break.
Welcome back to Newswatch. Meteorologist Jan Ryherd here with you tonight. Right now, our temperature here in Ames, 39 degrees, cooling down pretty fast out there, and tomorrow is going to feel very cool compared to today with our high just around there. Humidity right now, 70%, so as we go through the rest of the night, maybe a chance for a little bit of fog in the overnight hours. Current conditions across the entire state, clear skies for the most part. We've got 41 down in Des Moines, 39 in Ames, and 36 up in Fort Dodge. So those cooler temperatures definitely making their way back into the state. Highs today across the state, not too bad for February in Iowa. 52 in Des Moines, 44 up in Mason City, and 49 out in Sioux City. Those winds, though, out of the northwest right now, very strong. So that is what's helping bring in all of that cold air right now. So 20 miles an hour is our reading here in Ames. That's the higher reading for the central part of the state. 22 up in Mason City is the winner for the entire state right now. Those clouds clearing out as we go through the evening hours, helping us cool down even more tonight. And as we go through the futurecast here, not too much to look at. We don't really have any rain on the way for the near future. And just a few passing clouds as we go through the next couple of days, but mostly sunny skies expected through the weekend for us. Tonight, our lows will dip down into the mid to low 20s, 23 for Marshalltown, same for Fort Dodge, 20 up in Mason City. And then tomorrow, those highs, 37 for Marshalltown. So like I said, right now we're just around there here in Ames, so highs tomorrow not very different from where we are right now. 42 for Des Moines and 46 for Council Bluffs. For Ames tonight, we're looking for a low of 24. Pretty breezy as we continue through the night, and those breezy conditions sticking around in the early morning hours tomorrow. Warming up to 40 degrees for our high tomorrow. Definitely cooler, but like I said, those winds will die down as we go through the rest of the day and become much calmer. Looking at the next 7 days, lots of sunshine for the early part of the week. That colder day there on Wednesday, 40 degrees, still well above average for us this time of year. But then we heat right back up, 64 on Friday, 60 on Saturday. Those 60s continue into early next week.
Welcome back to Newswatch. I'm Ben Olson, and this is your Newswatch Sports Report. The Iowa State men's basketball team bounced back from defeat with an 80-64 victory over the Oklahoma Sooners on Saturday. The Cyclones were able to claim their 6th consecutive win over the Sooners in Hilton Coliseum behind 23 points from Naz Mitru-Long. Monte Morris was 1 assist away from a double-double with 13 points and 9 assists, while freshman Solomon Young made his first career start for the Cyclones, tallying 8 points on 4 of 5 shooting. With the win, the Cyclones improved to 7-5 in the Big 12 and 15-9 overall. The men are back in action on Wednesday at Kansas State. That game will tip at 6 p.m. and be televised on ESPN2. Meanwhile, the Iowa State women's basketball team was at Kansas State this past Saturday and were defeated by the 25th-ranked Wildcats 80-68. The Cyclones were led by Emily Durr's 20 points on 6 three-pointers, while Sienna Johnson added 17 points and Bridget Carlton corralled 11 rebounds. Kansas State was able to pull away behind 40 points from their bench. The Cyclone women dropped to 4-9 in the Big 12 and 13-11 overall. The women welcome Texas Tech to Hilton Coliseum on Wednesday. Tip-off is set for 7 p.m. with the game being televised on Cyclones TV. The Iowa State tennis team held their home opener on Sunday, claiming victory over Illinois State. The Cyclones jumped out to a 2-0 lead behind an impressive doubles performance from Sammy Boudet and Matti Cassini, along with a forfeit in singles from Illinois State. The Cyclones easily claimed the next 2 singles matches to win 4-0. Iowa State has now won 6 of their last 7 matches, including 3 straight. Iowa State will hope to continue their early hot streak against Stetson and Flagler next weekend. Also on Sunday, the Iowa State wrestling team lost 22-20 against the West Virginia Mountaineers in Morgantown. The duel came down to bonus point victories after the contest was split 5-5. The Cyclones held a 15-3 advantage at intermission, but were unable to hang on for their second victory of the season. Iowa State did receive a 2-1 victory from redshirt senior Earl Hall at 133 pounds, giving him victory number 100 for his career. The Iowa State wrestling team will host Minnesota at home next Sunday. The meet is scheduled to begin at 2 p.m.
Welcome back to Newswatch. Adele stole the show at the 59th Annual Grammy Awards on Sunday with an impressive double win for Record of the Year for Hello and Album of the Year 25. James Corden hosted an electrifying show with many of the year's best artists in attendance. Monumental wins included Chance the Rapper as Best New Artist, Hotline Bling by Drake as Best Rap and Sung Performance, and Stressed Out by 21 Pilots for Best Pop Duo and Group Performance. But it was Adele's final remarks that will be remembered by most, as she expressed her admiration for fellow nominee Beyoncé, whose album Lemonade was also a strong contender to win.
According to the New York Times, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un's estranged brother was assassinated earlier this morning in Malaysia. Kim Jong-nam was described by fellow passengers as just an ordinary citizen while waiting in the departure terminal of Malaysia's airport. While Kim Jong-nam was waiting to board his flight to Macau, he reportedly felt weary and was carried out on a stretcher, dying from a deadly poison toxin that was splashed on his face. This was nothing new until the Malaysian government was able to identify Kim Jong-nam as the estranged brother of the North Korean leader. The death spiked as an investigation into the Kim family, as they have a history of assassinations if Kim Jong-un questions their loyalty.
That is all we have for your Tuesday edition of Newswatch.
Stay tuned on Thursday for more news, weather, and sports.
Have a great night, Ames.